It begins with something so ordinary that most people never question it. A piece of toast in the morning, a sandwich at lunch, garlic bread with dinner, a quick snack when energy crashes in the afternoon. Soft, warm, familiar. And for millions of people, it happens every single day for years without interruption. But then one day, the bread disappears. And within hours, something strange starts happening inside the body. Not emotionally, biologically. Because bread is not just food. Modern bread is one of the fastest ways to flood the bloodstream with glucose, and after years of constant exposure, your body quietly builds its entire energy system around expecting it. Every morning, your metabolism wakes up anticipating fast fuel, fast sugar, fast insulin, fast dopamine, and when that cycle suddenly stops, your body notices immediately. The first thing to change is not your weight, not your stomach, not even your hunger. It is your blood chemistry. Within the first several hours after removing bread, insulin levels begin falling more consistently throughout the day. For years, your bloodstream may have been operating like a highway with constant traffic jams of glucose entering every few hours. Bread breaks down rapidly into sugar molecules, especially modern ultra-processed white bread, which digests so quickly that the body often treats it almost like pure glucose. And when glucose rises rapidly, insulin surges rapidly. Insulin is not evil. It is a survival hormone, a storage signal, a biological key that tells cells to open their doors and absorb energy from the bloodstream. But when insulin spikes happen over and over and over again every day, something begins changing deep inside the cells themselves. The cells stop listening properly, the locks become resistant to the key, and this is where the modern metabolic nightmare quietly begins. Because now, the body needs more insulin to accomplish the same job. More storage, more fat preservation, more inflammation, more energy crashes. Most people think feeling tired after eating is normal. It is not. It is often the result of violent swings in blood sugar and insulin happening silently after meals, and bread is one of the biggest drivers of that roller coaster. But then something strange happens when bread disappears. For the first day or two, many people actually feel worse. The brain becomes restless. Cravings intensify. Energy feels unstable. Some people develop headaches. Others feel emotionally irritable for reasons they cannot explain. And this is where most people panic. They think something is wrong. But what they are actually experiencing is metabolic switching. The body is recalibrating. For years, it depended on rapid incoming glucose as its primary fuel source. Now suddenly that fast fuel is gone. The survival machine inside the human body realizes it must adapt, and adaptation always feels uncomfortable before it feels powerful. Inside the liver, glycogen stores begin dropping. Glycogen is essentially backup fuel, stored carbohydrate energy packed away for emergencies. The body starts dipping into those reserves to maintain blood sugar stability while it figures out what to do next. And this is where ancient biology quietly wakes up. Because the human body was never designed to eat refined bread multiple times every day, forever. For most of human history, food availability was unpredictable. The body evolved to survive periods of scarcity by becoming metabolically flexible. It learned how to switch fuel systems, burn glucose when available, burn stored fat when necessary. But modern diets trap many people almost entirely inside sugar-burning mode. And when bread disappears, the body is finally forced to remember an older survival program. At first, it resists, then it adapts. Usually around day 3, something begins changing in the brain. The violent energy crashes start calming down. Hunger patterns begin shifting, and for the first time in years, many people notice they are not obsessively thinking about food every few hours. Because blood sugar is no longer spiking and collapsing all day long, this is one of the most misunderstood effects of removing bread. People expect constant suffering. But what often happens instead is stability, steady energy, steadier mood, more controlled hunger signals, and the reason is deeply biological. Every major blood sugar spike triggers a chain reaction inside the brain involving dopamine and reward circuitry. Highly processed carbohydrates stimulate powerful pleasure responses because the human brain evolved during periods when calorie-dense food was rare and valuable. Modern bread hijacks that ancient survival wiring, especially white bread. Because white bread digests rapidly, glucose floods the bloodstream quickly and creates a fast neurological reward signal. The brain remembers that reward, and it starts demanding repetition. This is why cravings can feel emotional instead of logical. The body is not weak. The survival circuitry is simply being manipulated by ultra-available modern food. But after several days without bread, dopamine signaling begins stabilizing. The reward roller coaster starts calming down. And many people notice something shocking. Their mind feels quieter, less compulsive, less driven by constant food thoughts. But the real transformation has not even started yet, because around the end of the first week, the body begins entering a completely different metabolic environment. Inflammation starts falling, water retention begins decreasing, the face often looks leaner first, not because massive fat loss happened overnight, but because insulin affects fluid balance throughout the body. High insulin levels encourage sodium retention, and sodium pulls water with it. Remove constant insulin spikes, and the body often releases significant retained fluid. This is why many people lose several pounds quickly after removing bread. Not all fat. Water, inflammatory retention, swelling they did not even realize they were carrying. And then digestion starts changing. Completely. Because for many people, bread is not just a carbohydrate source. It is also a major source of gut irritation, especially modern wheat products. Now this part becomes controversial very quickly, because not everyone responds negatively to gluten or wheat. Some people tolerate it perfectly well. Others experience almost immediate improvement when removing it. But what matters is what happens inside the intestinal lining itself. The digestive tract is not simply a food tube. It is an intelligent biological barrier designed to decide what enters the bloodstream and what stays out. The inner lining of the intestines is only one cell thick in many areas, one fragile living layer separating the outside world from your immune system. And certain compounds found in modern wheat appear capable of increasing intestinal permeability in susceptible individuals. In simple language, the barrier becomes leakier. Tiny particles that should remain inside the gut begin slipping through into circulation where the immune system reacts to them like invaders. The result can be subtle: bloating, brain fog, fatigue, skin irritation, joint discomfort, random inflammation that never seems connected to food. Most people never realize the connection because the symptoms become normalized over years. They think this is just how I feel until the bread disappears. And suddenly the bloating decreases. The stomach feels calmer. Energy after meals improves. For the first time in years, the body feels lighter, not emotionally, systemically. And then something even more powerful begins happening. The mitochondria start changing behavior. These microscopic structures inside your cells are essentially tiny biological power plants. Their entire job is converting fuel into usable energy. But when blood sugar remains constantly elevated and insulin remains chronically high, mitochondrial efficiency often declines over time. The energy system becomes sloppy, inefficient, dependent on rapid incoming fuel. But as insulin stabilizes and metabolic flexibility improves, many people begin accessing stored body fat more efficiently between meals. And this changes everything. Because body fat is not just storage, it is backup survival energy. Ancient fuel reserves. your body carrying its own emergency battery pack. Most modern humans rarely access that system properly because constant carbohydrate intake keeps insulin elevated too frequently. And elevated insulin strongly suppresses fat burning. But when bread disappears and insulin becomes lower for longer periods, fat cells begin opening. Stored energy starts leaving. The body remembers how to power itself differently. This is why many people suddenly experience steadier endurance and fewer energy crashes after several weeks without bread. Their metabolism is no longer desperately dependent on constant glucose refills every few hours. And then the brain changes again. This part surprises people the most. Mental clarity improves, not overnight, gradually, but noticeably. Many people describe the sensation almost the same way. It feels like the fog lifted. Concentration sharpens. Afternoon exhaustion decreases. Motivation stabilizes. And there are several possible reasons for this. One involves inflammation. Chronic systemic inflammation does not stay confined to one area of the body. Inflammatory molecules circulate through the bloodstream and can affect the brain itself. Neuroinflammation has been associated with fatigue, sluggish cognition, mood instability, and impaired focus. Another involves blood sugar stability. The brain consumes enormous amounts of energy, but it functions best when that energy arrives steadily instead of violently fluctuating throughout the day. Rapid spikes, rapid crashes, rapid recovery. That roller coaster exhausts the system. Stable glucose creates calmer neurological function, and this is where many people suddenly realize something disturbing. They were not actually low energy before. Their energy system was unstable. There is a difference. But what happens next shocks many people even more. Sleep begins changing. Around week 2 or 3, many people report deeper sleep and fewer middle-of-the-night awakenings. This surprises them because they never associated bread with sleep quality before. But unstable blood sugar affects stress hormones throughout the night. When blood sugar crashes too aggressively during sleep, the body sometimes releases cortisol and adrenaline to stabilize glucose levels. Those stress hormones can partially wake the brain even if the person never fully remembers it. Stabilize blood sugar, and sleep often becomes calmer, deeper, more restorative, and when sleep improves, everything improves. Recovery. Hormones. Cravings. Mood. Fat loss. Inflammation. The body begins operating like a coordinated system again instead of a collection of separate symptoms, and then another transformation starts becoming visible. The appetite changes. Dramatically. This is one of the biggest reasons many people accidentally lose weight after removing bread even when they are not consciously dieting. Because processed bread products often digest rapidly and provide surprisingly weak satiety signals compared to protein, fiber, healthy fats, and minimally processed foods. The stomach fills temporarily, blood sugar spikes rapidly, insulin rises aggressively. Then hunger returns, sometimes shockingly fast. But when those cycles calm down, appetite hormones like ghrelin and leptin often begin stabilizing too. People naturally snack less. Cravings weaken. The constant psychological obsession with food starts fading into the background, and this is where the experience becomes emotional. Because many people realize for the first time how much their eating patterns were being controlled by biology they never understood. Not weakness, not laziness, biochemistry, hormones, ancient survival pathways interacting with modern industrial food systems. But then comes the stage where the body starts optimizing instead of merely recovering. Around 1 month without bread, many people report a completely different relationship with energy altogether. Mornings feel easier, mental crashes become less severe, workouts feel steadier, and body composition often changes in subtle but meaningful ways. Waist circumference decreases. Inflammation drops further. The face looks sharper. The body starts looking less swollen and more defined even before dramatic weight loss occurs. And inside the bloodstream, several markers often begin improving simultaneously. Triglycerides may decrease. Insulin sensitivity may improve. Blood sugar regulation becomes more stable. Liver fat can begin declining in some individuals, especially when removing highly processed refined bread products that were previously consumed multiple times daily. But now the biggest fear appears. People start wondering, is this dangerous long term? Does removing bread damage metabolism? Won't I lose muscle? And this is where nuance matters. Because the human body absolutely can function healthily with carbohydrates. Carbohydrates are not poison. The issue is not survival. The issue is quantity, processing, frequency, and metabolic context. There is a profound biological difference between minimally processed ancestral carbohydrates and modern ultra-refined flour products engineered for hyperpalatability and rapid digestion. One interacts with human biology slowly, the other overwhelms it rapidly, and the body feels that difference immediately. Some people thrive with moderate healthy carbohydrate intake. Others feel dramatically better reducing refined bread products specifically. The point is not ideology. The point is awareness, understanding what your own biology is responding to. Because the modern food environment often disconnects people from those signals entirely. People stop eating based on genuine energy needs and start eating based on engineered cravings, conditioned habits, convenience, emotional reward loops. But when bread disappears for several weeks, many people experience something unexpected. They start hearing their body again. Real hunger, real fullness, real energy, real fatigue. The noise becomes quieter. And underneath that noise, the body begins communicating more clearly. This is why the transformation feels bigger than weight loss alone. It feels like regaining control, like waking up from metabolic autopilot. And perhaps the strangest part of all is what happens when many people try bread again after a long break. Foods that once felt completely normal suddenly feel overwhelmingly heavy. Some people experience bloating almost immediately. Others feel sleepy after meals. Others notice dramatic cravings returning within hours. It is not that bread suddenly became evil overnight. It is that the contrast became visible for the first time. The body adapted to stability and suddenly notices instability much more clearly. And once you feel that difference, it becomes difficult to ignore. Because your body is constantly talking to you. Through hunger, through energy, through inflammation, through sleep, through cravings, through focus, through mood. The modern world simply trained most people to stop listening. But when you remove something your body interacts with every single day, especially something as metabolically powerful as modern bread, hidden processes begin revealing themselves. The body recalibrates, hormones shift, inflammation changes, energy systems adapt. Ancient survival machinery quietly comes back online. And the most important realization is this: your body was never broken. It was adapting to the environment you gave it. Every craving, every crash, every energy swing, every inflammatory response, every metabolic shift. Your body was responding exactly the way a survival machine is designed to respond. And when the environment changes, the biology changes with it. That is the real story. Not bread itself, but adaptability, because the human body is far more intelligent than most people realize. The question is whether modern life is allowing that intelligence to function properly. So now imagine something. If removing one single modern food for 30 days can change hunger, energy, inflammation, sleep, digestion, cravings, mental clarity, and metabolic stability this dramatically, What else inside your daily routine is quietly reshaping your biology right now without you even noticing? And if your body can transform this much in 1 month, what could happen in a year?